mai, hoki mai to the verdict, our very first episode for 2021. Now we've got some touchy subjects to speak about today. We're talking sledging in sport and also technology and its role in sport. Before we get into those though, let me introduce to you our debating duo today. Goran, Paladin, kia ora.
Yeah, great to see you. Let me introduce you to my favourite new shirt, an off-season purchase. What do you think?
I like it. We're kind of matching with the flowers.
Yeah, we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
And then the odd man out with his check shirt, Jeff Wilson.
No comment, no comment. It's great to be back. Look, I remember our last battle vividly. It was a very close call, but I'm giving you every opportunity.
What was it?
To start the year, to get back on terms.
You beat me 1 to 0.817 or something like that, wasn't it? Yeah,
and
a very narrow win.
And we did go on to become the #1 team in the world, like I predicted.
Yeah, and now they completely justify their position at the top of the pile.
Move on, let it go. Let's start afresh.
Okay,
it's
all right.
a new year. It's great to be here.
Draw a line under it.
We love it. It's already getting awkward. Okay, so before we get into it, a quick rundown on how this will go. We've already stated what our issues will be today, but we will restate them and you will decide which side of the fence you will be on. You will then get the opportunity to provide evidence or comments or whatever you would like to support that side of the fence. If you wish to rebut, as you know, you may. Just be wary of time. Okay?
Yep.
No problem.
All right, business time. Case number 1, sledging in sport. Ban it or keep it? Goran?
I'm saying keep it. There's nothing wrong with sledging if it's done well and done smartly. So while it is quite topical at the moment with what's coming out of Australia, I don't see anything wrong with it if you're not a dickhead about using it. Right. Tim Payne.
T-Pain, yep.
That's where you're starting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think about sport, and you think about the highest level, and the fact for a long, long time, forever, it was about winning or losing, right? So you'd push the boundaries, you'd go to the edge. And there's no doubt in terms of cricket, and a lot of other sports have varieties of sledging.
Remember, we keep this intro piece very, very short, Jeff.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that, this is going to be, because I'm giving you a little bit of context here, that sledging for me is pure and simply when you have crossed the line, when you've gone beyond the line. There is gamesmanship.
It's not.
But sledging for me, when you've crossed the line, has got to a point where you've actually put the sport in a worse position and representing the sport poorly.
Nah. See, okay, for me, yeah, there have been occasions where sledging is racist abuse. Now, is there any place in sport for racist abuse? Absolutely not. We need to stamp that out. And I think sporting organisations are doing their best to rid sport of it. But when I think about classic sledges of the past, George Gregan to Byron Callagher, 4 more years, mate. What's wrong with that? That is just stating the obvious. The All Blacks need to wait another 4 years before they get the opportunity to win a Rugby World Cup.
I mean, you really think you're going to get points by bringing in George Gregan so early in a discussion
Well, I know
with
how
me?
much you love George Gregan.
Do you think that was really going to get under my skin? I think that all of a sudden,
Exactly.
it's like I've
Bring
never
it in
faced
nice
this.
and early,
Like I've never faced this sort of
He's flustered.
criticism before.
I've got
All I
under
can
his
say is
skin.
you brought rugby into a sledging debate.
Mate,
when the fact that
sledging exists across all sports.
You're taking it away from the sport, which is topical right now, which is cricket, which is where sledging itself
We're talking about
invented.
sledging
Sledging
as a whole across all sports.
All right,
Jeff.
calm
like
it down.
you're saying.
Sorry.
Is it now Jeff's turn to speak?
Okay, yeah.
Take it away, Jeff.
Well,
Let's
when
talk more about George Gregan.
Let's talk more about the fact that in the end, when I talk about it, and you're right, the fact that you taking and crossing the line, that to me is what sledging is where you get personal. The fact you've taken the fact it's beyond gamesmanship. It's not about the game and context you're playing. You're talking about an individual's character, and that has no place in sport any longer. The fact, and should never have been. And was it accepted before? It was always on the line. But now with all of the things that are available to all of us at home, and I think we should always remember that it is the fans that rule. It's what the fans want, the expectations of the fans now. That's the way it should be. They expect to be respect between players, individuals, and the fact that we've just gone through a series here in New Zealand between Pakistan and the Black Caps, and we saw none of it. What we did see was the odd fining of Kyle Jamieson for throwing the ball in anger, like any good fast bowler does, or medium fast, like I was, or medium slow, however you wanted to describe it. But I myself was guilty of, at times, getting caught up in the heat of battle, but trying to make sure that it never became personal. The fact that it never attacked anyone's character, talked about their personal life and however they represented themselves. It should always, pure and simply, be about the context. And, given what you said about George, I accept that, but I don't see that as sledging. I see sledging as having crossed that line. That's just gamesmanship. That's a relationship between players. And don't get me wrong, I've had those with many a rugby player on the field, particularly when it was the Crusaders and Highlanders, for example, Marshall and Mertens, back and forward, but at no point did it get to a point where it was attacking a character.
So what are you're defining sledging as attacking character, racist abuse. So what do you class
As gamesmanship.
George Gregan's sledge of Byron Callagher? How does that?
Well, that stated a fact.
Is that banter?
That was actually a fact.
Is that banter in
That was
your
a
world?
fact. That's absolutely.
Okay,
and
so
banter, the fact is the point where there's nothing personal about that other than the fact you're going, what, 4 more years? What's that? That's a fact.
Okay, well,
He's done
let's
that.
look at some cricket sledges of the past then, right? So Merv Hughes, big Australian fast bowler, he says to Robin Smith one day, Rav, he's beaten them all ends up, and he says, look at the back of your bat, the instructions are there.
That's just clever.
See, but that is sledging. That is sledging because he's saying the guy cannot bat.
That is,
here's some advice to help you with
there's nothing personal.
What about
in that,
Viv
though.
Richards? He's playing and missing. The bowler at the time, I forget his name, he says it's round, it's red. Try and freaking hit it.
Yeah.
He pumps him for a boundary.
Now,
you know
if
what
I'm
it
the
looks
fan,
like. Now
though,
go fetch it.
So if I'm the
That
fan,
is sledging,
though,
right?
Is that entertainment?
That's sledging.
That's not sledging.
It is
Anyways,
sledging.
That is not taking a personal aspect on something and taking to a point where does that
It is
put the
personal because the guy couldn't hit the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. He's stating a fact.
So it's all sledging. This is my point, Jeff. So everything is
So if I
sledging.
said to you,
But
though-
hang on.
Yeah.
Everything is sledging, but there's no room for racist abuse, right? And those really dark, nasty personal attacks. Sledging can stay as long as it's
So what
smart
you're saying is you need
and
to take
witty
those out of
and
those-
humorous.
Yeah.
So you
Because
want
you-
to take
you
sledging
can't-
out of the game. That's what you're saying.
What's that?
You take that element of sledging out of the game.
Of course, yes.
All
of
right.
course
So
you
we're
do.
so what you've just put,
But-
you're just
but
taking it away.
You're arguing that you ban sledging completely.
That's a good-
I don't know how you can do that.
See, but I see gamesmanship as being something completely different. And the fact
But
when you talk about
it's
someone
sledging.
playing and missing, no, well, I don't think it is.
It is.
I don't think because the negative connotations attached with the word sledging, for example. This is what happens to the fact that all of a sudden people will regard sledging as a negative in the game, as a point where you are getting personal. They will associate that word. Now, it can be...
But that's wrong. They
Well,
shouldn't.
that's not-
Yeah.
That's the
They shouldn't.
I think
that's
it
not
already
the
is.
reality, though.
Yeah,
That's the reality. When you say sledging, you hear some of the things we've heard in recent times. You even hear stories of the past. The fact that we have mics now that are continually on, players cross the line. And look, Tim Payne's the recent example. The interesting thing for me, I looked at the number of fines that the ICC had handed out for behaviour that was finable offence, demerit points, all those sorts of things. Last couple of years, the worst case scenario, the worst offenders have actually been at World Under-19 tournaments. Young
Right.
kids getting to the point where they're just well and truly too immature. They get into it with, even gets physical, guys, bump into each other, all those sorts of things.
How do you get physical in
Funnily
an
enough-
under-19 game of cricket?
Funnily enough, is that where the issues lie right now, is the fact that the ICC themselves can't define where the line is. The fact that they haven't put anything in place to go, you know what, this isn't acceptable. Because now they've got all the audio, they've got all the information, they're hearing it and seeing it firsthand. The fact of the matter is that they aren't handing out fines for this type of behaviour that aren't bringing I see it bringing the game into disrepute. What Tim Payne did on the weekend is disgraceful in terms of taking a personal attack on a player.
I don't know if you could call it disgraceful. All he did was make himself out to be a petulant school kid. And I think it's quite amusing because Australia for the last 2 years, since Sandpaper Gate in South Africa, have held themselves up as, the moral compass of all things cricket. This is how we behave and you should behave the same way, Rav, But when push came to shove and the heat went on, they reverted to type. And so I just sit back and laugh. And if that's the best that Tim Payne has, well,
Well,
I feel sorry for him.
It wasn't good enough on the day.
No. And he
but
dropped
in
3
saying that,
catches
though,
as well.
I think we have to still accept, and I think anyone on the international stage, given the audience that they are seeing right now, they are role models. And as much as they hate to think it and hate to say it and go, you know what, I'm just a sportsman, if you're out there and you are, I suppose, setting an example for the next generation, how you behave and your expectations as an individual in terms of a person, you're going to be judged on what you say.
Yeah.
And he should be judged, just like Steve Smith should be judged on his behaviour. The fact, just like every other player should be judged on it.
I'm going to throw a little ball in here. Is it sport specific? Is it because it's cricket, it's not acceptable? Because when I think of combat sport, when they're talking about practically ripping their heads off, and I mean, I don't want to go too far with the language that they use because it's just that.
We can bleep it out, Rav.
No, I mean, you know what I mean.
Well, funny enough,
in that arena, it's okay and it's encouraged, but here, it's breaking
Because
news.
cricket is the gentleman's game.
I had this very discussion over the weekend.
But they've been sledging for years. Because gentlemen are nasty individuals.
Well, in the heat of battle, they cross lines. Some of those fines you're talking about have been purely and simply a guy saying an expletive within range of the microphone. They've been fined. Whereas this sort of behaviour hasn't been punished. And you're sitting there going, well, where is the line and when has it been crossed? And when do you just change that behaviour? And is it just Australia we're talking about here?
Maybe Tim Payne was right. Maybe Ravi Ashwin doesn't have any friends in the Indian
Maybe he
team,
does have more.
which would make the quarantining very tough.
It would be a tough environment to be in.
So
Tell you what, he has a lot of friends now after their performance on
Yeah,
the
I bet
weekend.
he does.
Definitely does.
Yeah.
You know?
Has he come out and said anything?
He doesn't need
About
to.
it?
He doesn't.
He
need
let
to.
his bat do the talking.
Exactly. Well, I think it's
Tim's
forward
gloves.
defence. I think forward defence did the talking for him.
Yeah, and Tim Payne's hands did the talking for him.
exactly.
Well, I mean, he also did some talking, but the
Yeah.
hands
Oh,
were
let's be
terrible.
honest. If they turned around and had an opportunity and decided to go at him, I think they would have had plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
They chose not to.
Yeah.
They chose the higher ground. You know, and for me, which team is going to come out of that result on the weekend with the integrity and you talk about the gentleman's game, look, you know, and funnily enough, one of the guys in India's environment who's not there, Virat Kohli, he's probably been one of the guys that's been right on the line a number of times.
Oh, yeah.
You know, imagine if he'd been in that environment, how he might have reacted. And so I think everyone is under the watch now of the fact that, you know, you can't go places that you've gone in the past.
I'm giving this to Goran because I think in the current climate, sledging isn't only the abuse. I do think it does include the banter and things right now. And I think when you do talk to athletes, obviously not yourself right now about this part, but when I've spoken to other athletes and they talk about sledging, you know, they do talk about those humorous things and the jokes and the things that, you know, they actually love their opponents very much and know them off the field or court, and you know, they have competition and it's not to hurt each other's feelings. It is for that psychological edge during a game. But I do agree that the word sledging does now need to be redefined, because I think after this moment in cricket, you know, when I look at the headlines, sledging is very much a negative thing. But when you talk to people, it's not. It's up for interpretation.
One of my favourite sledges or banters or gamesmanship, whatever we're calling it today, you know, like Mark Wall giving a batsman grief, like, you shouldn't be playing for England. And the guy retorts, well, you're not even the best player in your family.
Exactly. I did enjoy that.
Ouch.
Now, that to me is like awesome sledging.
The rebuttals aren't. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. All right, let's put that one to bed. Goran, you're up 1-0.
Unlosable position. Unlosable.
Case number 2. We're talking technology in sport. Is it killing sport? So we're talking video referees, you know, all the sorts of technology. I mean, there's tons of it with cricket right now. Of course, it is the season. So let's get your thoughts, guys.
There is not too much technology in sport, particularly the fact we're talking about the professional level. And you're talking about livelihoods, you're talking about investment, you're talking about sponsorship, you're talking about where the results and people at home's opportunity to see what's actually happening in the game. If you don't use the technology to get the decisions right, then you're not servicing everyone that's collectively involved. And so for me, they have to use technology, they should use it, and it's not being used too much as I see it right now. Some sports still, though, have not found the best way of using it, and they need to adapt that. But I think it's an important part now because the coverage is so complete.
I'm going to argue that, too much technology is killing sport to a certain extent. I love, you know, multiple camera angles. We've got spider cam at the cricket. We had like a similar sort of thing at the netball, a camera running over the top, and it really shows perfectly where everybody's positioned on the court, and you can understand how the team functions and works. I love all that sort of stuff. I love the graphics that come with it. really plays a part in telling sports story, but I think too much of a good thing can actually have an adverse reaction and impact on it. And so, yeah, I'm going to say that too much technology is killing sport as a viewer. Yeah.
And are you talking from an aspect of the outcome, or as they're sitting at home watching it, in terms of entertainment value? Why is it taking away from the sport?
My main point of concern is video referees. So in football, VAR, in rugby, TMO, in NRL, it's the bunker. They waste so much time, and invariably we get the wrong decision. Case in point, at the weekend, the Wellington Phoenix had a draw against Macarthur FC, 1-1. They should have won the game. Alex Rufer was sent off at the hour mark for something that was just so insignificant. It was a yellow card at worst, and then you move on. So I don't know if you saw it.
Saw it.
Yeah, so you know exactly what happened. He was fouled. He rolls over, knocks into a guy who fouled him, sort of stopping a fast break for Macarthur FC. Referee gets involved. He gives Rufer a yellow, which I thought was unfair. The VAR gets involved. He's like, hang on a second, on-ground referee. We need to take a look at this. So they look at it really closely. The guy who makes the initial contact with Rufer gets away scot-free. I'm like, well, hang on a second. You've got the replay right there. You're looking at it on a TV screen. You should really be pinging this guy. And then he gives a red card to Alex Rufer, affecting the outcome of the game, slowing the game down, taking the air out of the contest. It's moments like that that infuriate me. All you needed to do was go online and have a look at Wellington Phoenix forum pages, fan pages, and they were livid. You know, and I'm pretty sure that any football fan watching that at home or at the ground would go, what on earth is going on here? This is where technology kills sport for me, Jeff.
That's the application of the technology. It's not the technology itself.
If you remove it, then it doesn't happen.
No, it's the person who made the decision who's the issue there. It's got nothing to do with the technology.
But we're using the technology, giving it to the people, and
absolutely.
they're stuffing it up.
Well, and you're saying the fact more often than not. Well, that's absolutely wrong. Is the fact that it's not more often than not they're getting it wrong.
It happens every week.
Isolated incidents, yes, but the number of times you go to it and the right decision is made, and rugby is the prime example of the fact that you would say that 90% of the time, 95% of the time, the right decision is made, the fact that they get the information. Now, don't get me wrong, the fact that the air out of the tyres of a contest is one of the concerns about technology, 100%, but there are a lot of sports that don't have that issue. What they use in tennis, for example, it's obvious, it's clear, it happens quickly, decisions are made, you move on, no problem at all. There's no doubt in football they're having their challenges right now. Whether or not it's in the best interest of that game, once again, the people making the decisions are where the errors are being made, and that's my concern, is the fact that they haven't got the right people. In rugby, for example, it's lawmakers or ex-referees are the ones that are always in behind.
Needs to be players, right?
Well, could be a player,
ex-players.
could be a player, could be a coach, could be an ex-coach, could be guys who see the game and can make quicker assessments, and to your point, the fact that they don't take the ear out of the game and have a better understanding of what's going on. So for me, it's how you're applying it and using it that is where the issue are. The fact that the NBA, for example, I think I bring them up because here's a sport that globally, massive basketball, the investment they make into it. The technology, though, is actually in the hands of the coaches because they're the ones that put the challenges in. They're the ones that ask for things to be looked at again, unless it is in terms of foul play. Now, foul play is the one that takes a lot of time because particularly in rugby. And those are the things that where we argue that things need to be maybe looked at a later date. Players put on report, it's seen.
Foul play is fair enough. Like, I've got no issue with that slowing the game down.
Well,
if someone has snotted somebody in the head and they need to be marched, then let's get that right.
But you have to be careful you don't go looking for it. The fact, and particularly in a contact sport.
That's what happened in the A-League game.
Yeah, and
they were looking for something because the VAR tells the referee there's something untoward going on here.
But it's not the technology.
Oh, I've
it's
got to give somebody a red card
No, it's giving us the information. It's how it's being used that needs to be very, very clear. And I come back to the fact that the right result in the end has to be given. Now, at times, it's not right. That the wrong team may get the benefit of a poor decision, but more often than not, the right decision is being made, which means that the right team, which deserves to win, which has done the work, which has prepared well, which has played the game in the right way, they are the ones that will be rewarded and they've used the technology has gone in their favour. And to me, I look at that and go, you know what? If we don't get that, the frustrations of missed calls will mean that you will lose fans. They will walk away from the game.
I reckon we could live with a missed call every so often. Like, I think we're big enough.
Every so
and
often?
ugly
What
enough.
does every so often mean?
Every weekend.
So if we miss a call in the first minute versus to the last minute, is there a significant difference? So you let a guy score in the first minute, you don't use the technology. With 2 minutes to go, a guy goes to score a try. Yeah. And, we better have a look at that again because it's deciding the game. You chose not to look at the first one. You have to use it. It's available because everyone at home can see it. It is there. It's on the big screen. All of a sudden, disgruntled fans, I come back to that, which should have got me across the line in the first debate. But it's not. It's going to get me across the line in the second debate because in the end, a fan who's got investment, sponsorships, invested in
but the same
the
fans
TAB,
with the
for
investment
example,
are getting ripped off week after week when they use the technology and they get it wrong. So if they're getting it wrong, we may as well just remove it and just own those mistakes.
So here's a question for you. How often do you believe that referees, for example, make the right decision on the field as a percentage, in general play?
Oh, geez, well...
Exactly. It's
73.5%
You are
of the time.
so close. It's actually between 75 and 76%.
Well, would you look at that?
Yeah, and that's enough of a... If you add every other decision on top of that, all of a sudden, the wrong outcome. A few missing opportunities to get things right, all of a sudden that gets lower and lower and lower, right?
Yeah.
And so the integrity of the result of the game is being compromised. I think you have to be very, very careful the fact that, like I say, people's investment. People have put hard-earned cash, decided they want to be part of sports betting, for example. That money that goes into sports betting, we shouldn't forget, goes back into sports, so there is a cycle there. So I just think, that the information is there. Frustrations happen very quickly. People change the channel very, very quickly if they're not satisfied that they're getting, I think, a fair result. Yeah. And I think the technology provides that more often than not.
Late in the most recent test, Australia-India, they were talking to Tim Payne, the captain of Australia. I'm thinking to myself, shouldn't Tim Payne be addressing his players, like how we're going to focus all of our efforts on getting India out over the next half hour of play, as opposed to having an old hobnob with Howie and Warney and the boys in the combox?
Well, that's where you send somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, no, but they didn't. And that's where they've used it wrong. They should have gone, you know what, it's not the time for Tim Payne to be doing this. We're just going to send someone else out there to have a chat, just go, look, you need to deal with this. We're dealing with another challenge over here. But these are all things that they're introducing, which they'll learn from very, very quickly. In saying that, I think he knew the game was gone anyway because he had no idea what he was going to do next.
I think Fox Sports actually cost the Australians the win in that one, didn't they?
Well, they didn't offer any advice, did they? How about you try this, mate? If I was getting down there, I'm surprised Warney didn't give him that one. Like, I tell you what, is can anyone fly a bowler flipper? Because it would work.
Why don't you get your big fast bowlers to bowl short to these guys and get some fielders in close around the bat? Have you thought about that, Tim
Have you heard of Neil Wagner? Have you heard of Neil Wagner? Just
Chip music.
Shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
Shane Warne, off the record, on the record. This is what you should do.
Yeah.
Oh, God, let's not get into that. Well,
I'm tired after that one. I feel spent.
Technology. This has reared its head in a couple of other debates in the past, and I don't think I'm going to change my mind on it. I do think technology has its place in sport, and I do agree that the decisions that do eventuate are man-made ones, and it is about using that technology to the best of its ability to help.
I'm feeling good right now.
The game.
I'm feeling confident.
I know I can't lose, so
I'm
I feel
giving it
pretty
to
good
Jeff.
too.
Okay.
Hey.
All right.
Well
It's
done.
1-1 though.
1-1. Yeah,
1-1?
that's fine.
You don't want to carry on and find something else to talk about?
No.
Oh, you're done. That's
I'm happy.
Oh, wow. He's walking away.
Well,
He's walking away.
I'm all about incremental improvements, okay? And so last time out, you beat me. Now we're level.
You've upped your game.
Next time, boom.
Okay. There's always a next time.
Although he had the whole Christmas break to think about it.
Yeah, I did. I was agonising over this for 3 weeks.
And find that shirt he's wearing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wasn't that hard, actually?
It was a gift, right?
No, I bought it myself.
Uh-oh. Okay, well, thanks again, Jeff, for joining us. Always a pleasure. And as for Goran and I, we will be back here next week putting everything in sport on trial. Mā te wā.